radial engines, tail wheels, air shows, and the lessons that make better pilots. Welcome to Retro-Aero with Czech pilot Dale. Aviation history, practical airmanship, and honest hangar stories. Let's fly.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Question of the Day Retro-Aero podcast. I am your host, Czech pilot Dale. If you'd like to send us a question to be answered on the Question of the Day, feel free to email us at aviators@retroaero.org, or if you're part of a WhatsApp group, just post the question to the podcast subgroup. Today's question is, have you ever told someone to quit being a pilot? Or have I ever had to tell someone to stop being a pilot? I first got my CFI rating in 1993. For those that aren't good at math, that was 33 years ago. In that time, I've maintained my CFI currency, although I wasn't always active as a flight instructor. However, in all that time, there's only been one person that I convinced should pursue a different lifestyle or profession. In all that time, only one of all the students. I stopped keeping track of my dual given hours a long time ago. But in 1996, I had over 3,000 hours at dual given. And in the last few years, since 2018, the last 8 years, I'd say I've probably given another at least 2,000 to 3,000 hours of dual given. And that's not including what I do at the airlines. So that's just general aviation. And despite all that, only one. And the reason I told that one person is back then, and this was in 1993, maybe 1994, when I was just beginning my flight instructor career, they didn't diagnose ADHD. And in retrospect, looking back, I suspect that that particular individual did have ADHD. Because although they could concentrate for certain periods of time, they would be on base turn to final, and suddenly they weren't present. They weren't there in the flight deck. They would just not be present. And as many discussions as we had, and as much as we talked and tried to train that individual, they just could not maintain focus to the point where they would kill themselves or their passengers. Now, I don't believe in telling people what to do, but we had a very long conversation. And at the end of that conversation, the individual decided that maybe pursuing the pilot profession would not be right for them. Maybe they are a pilot today, maybe with the right kinds of medication or whatever the underlying issues were have been addressed, and now they can fly airplanes. But at that time, they were not there. And that's the only individual. I've had students or learners who didn't want to be pilots, and they still made it through. I've had individuals that had great struggles in becoming pilot, and they've achieved their success. In my opinion, majority of those individuals who don't become pilots or quit before they get their private pilot, majority is probably due to poor instruction. With the right type of instruction, patience, and the right amount of money, anybody can get through the process. So that's my answer for the question of the day. Remember, keep the oily side down unless you're doing aerobatics. I'll see you tomorrow.
You've been listening to Retro-Aero with Czech pilot Dale. Thanks for flying along, and remember to always have airspeed, altitude, and ideas, or at least 2 out of 3. Bye for now.